The desperate call. The stars burned cold in the black sky, but for the ships of the Alliance fleet the darkness was full of fire. Explosions tore through the void as alien cruisers broke apart one by one. Hulls split, crews screamed through broken channels, and the silence of space was filled with endless distress signals. The enemy had come faster than anyone expected. A swarm of mechanical war machines, a race without fear, without pity. Their ships moved like living shadows, cutting through every defense. The Alliance had fought many battles before, but this one felt different. This was not a war they were winning. This was survival slipping through their fingers. On the command deck of the flagship Varen's Hope, Commander Soral gripped the edge of the table, his mandibles tight with panic. Screens flickered with red lights, each symbol marking a destroyed vessel. His second officer cried out, "3 more cruisers gone, sir. We can't hold them back." Soral knew. Everyone knew. The Alliance was falling. "Send the call," he whispered. His voice shook. "Send it now." Across the fleet, across the stars, a desperate message was repeated again and again. A single word filled the channels of the galactic network. Reinforcements. The message reached the Council within hours. In the shining halls of the central station, leaders of a dozen species gathered in a storm of arguments. Holograms filled the chamber, showing battle footage. Ships burning, warriors screaming, fleets crumbling under the endless enemy assault. "They will break through within days," one senator shouted. "If the line falls, our core worlds are open. Then send reinforcements," another voice snapped. "What forces remain?" The councilors listed their fleets one by one. Too far, too weak, already destroyed. Hope bled out of the room with every answer. Silence pressed down on the chamber, heavy and suffocating. Finally, an old council member spoke with trembling words. "There is one option left." The room turned. All eyes locked on him. Earth. The word echoed like thunder. Whispers filled the chamber, sharp and uneasy. Earth. The humans, a species that had joined the council only recently. Young, wild, dangerous. Their numbers were small compared to the great empires, but there was something about them, something the others never understood. "No," one counselor hissed. "They are unpredictable. They do not fight like the rest of us." "But they fight," the old member answered firmly. "And now we need fighters." The chamber fell quiet again. At last, the council made their choice. A message was sent to Earth. When the call reached the humans, it carried the weight of the galaxy's despair. On the hidden bases of Earth, where mountains covered underground hangars and oceans hid silent fleets, leaders read the words: reinforcements, desperation, the galaxy begging for help. Human commanders exchanged cold looks. They did not argue. They did not waste time. The decision was made quickly, without hesitation. A single transport ship was prepared. Massive, black, its surface scarred with old battles. It lifted from Earth's skies and vanished into the void, heading toward the battlefield. The Alliance fleet, still burning, still breaking, saw the ship arrive days later. At first there was relief, then confusion. The ship carried no escort, no fleet, no army. Just one vessel, silent and grim, gliding through the wreckage of broken cruisers. On the bridge of Varen's Hope, Commander Soral stared at the human ship on the screen. His mandibles clicked nervously. "That's it? That's all they send?" Officers muttered around him. Where were the human armies? Where were the promised reinforcements? The transport hovered close, ignoring the chaos of the battlefield. Its shields flared as enemy fire struck it, but it did not break. It simply waited, silent, as though holding something inside. Soral leaned closer to the screen, his voice tight. "What are you carrying, humans?" No answer came. The human ship kept drifting, steady and patient, like a predator waiting for the right moment. Behind sealed walls and locked chambers, something inside the transport began to stir. The silent. Answer the battlefield had turned into a graveyard. Burned hulls floated across the void like silent tombs. their crews lost forever. The enemy machines, dark and endless, circled the survivors like predators playing with their prey. But then the humans arrived. Not an army, not a fleet, just one ship. The transport's black hull reflected no light, as if it absorbed the stars themselves. It made no introduction, no message of comfort or strategy. It simply appeared, cutting through the wreckage, silent and steady. On the bridge of the Alliance flagship Varen's Hope, Commander Soral could not contain his frustration. "One ship? This is all the humans send? Are they mocking us?" His officers exchanged uneasy looks. Everyone had heard stories about humans, but no one truly knew what Earth hid in its shadows. "Maybe they planned to deploy weapons," one officer suggested. "Or reinforcements kept in stasis chambers," another guessed. But the ship did nothing. It just hovered there, shields flaring against enemy fire, unmoving. It was like a beast waiting behind a cage door. Soral slammed a clawed hand against the table. "Send them a message. Demand they explain." The comms officer worked quickly, opening a channel. The screen lit with static, then a face appeared. A human. Pale skin, hard eyes, wearing no ornate uniform, only simple black combat gear. "This is Commander Soral of the Alliance fleet," Soral barked. "Where is your army? Where are your reinforcements?" The human stared at him for a long moment, his face calm, unreadable. Finally, he spoke. His voice was low, almost cold. "You asked for help," he said. "We sent it." Soral blinked in shock. "One ship is not an army." The human did not argue. His lips curled in something between a smirk and a warning. Then, the transmission cut. The bridge fell into stunned silence. "What did he mean?" one officer whispered. "I don't know," Soral muttered. His eyes stayed locked on the dark transport ship. A cold weight pressed into his chest. "But I fear we are about to find out." Moments later, the human ship opened its hull. Massive, gates slid apart, releasing a deep rumble that shook even the comm channels. For the first time, the Alliance saw what Earth had sent. Not weapons, not machines, not an army. They were people. Dozens of human figures stepped out into the docking, bays moving with brutal precision. Their armor was black, their helmets marked with symbols unknown to alien eyes. No banners, no flags, only silence. The enemy machines turned, their scanners locking on the new arrivals. They expected an easy kill, and then the first human moved. Fast. Too fast. A blur of black armor shot through the wreckage and slammed into an enemy drone ship. The drone's armor cracked like glass. Another human leapt, ripping weapons free with bare hands. Plasma fire tore across the battlefield. But the humans didn't slow. They didn't fight like soldiers, they fought like predators. Every move was sharp, ruthless, and final. On Varen's Hope, officers watched in silence as humans tore through machines that had crushed entire fleets. The humans fought without fear, without hesitation. Where one fell, two more surged forward. Soral whispered almost to himself, "What are they?" No one answered. The enemy swarm shifted, now focusing fire on the humans. Beams of energy blasted across the void, but the humans adapted instantly, using wreckage as cover, twisting through space like they were born for it. Their weapons were strange. Some fired bursts of light, others ripped through hulls with raw, kinetic power. Each strike ended in destruction. The enemy had numbers. The humans had something else, something terrifying. The Alliance officers realized it at the same time. This wasn't an army Earth had sent. It was something far more dangerous. On the battlefield, one of the human leaders activated his comm. His voice, distorted by his helmet, echoed across the channel. "Earth didn't send reinforcements," he said. "Earth sent us." The words rolled through the fleets like thunder. A cold silence followed, broken only by the screams of the enemy machines as they were ripped apart one by one. The enemy swarm, once unstoppable, was slowing. For the first time, hesitation showed in their formations. They were learning fear, and so were the Allies watching. Soral gripped the edge of the table tighter, his mandibles trembling. His mind raced with one thought he could not silence. If this is Earth's answer, what else are they hiding? The release. The galaxy had never seen war like this. For centuries, the Alliance had believed strength meant fleets, numbers, and technology. Endless ships in neat formations, grand strategies written in council halls. But humans were showing something different, something primal. The battlefield was chaos. Enemy drones swarmed like locusts, their black hulls blotting out starlight. They had crushed empires, silenced entire star systems. But now, in the cold dark, they met a force that refused to break. The humans. Released from their transport, they moved like shadows with fire in their blood. Their black armor bent light, their weapons screamed with brutal energy. They didn't march like soldiers. They hunted. Each movement was direct, sharp, final. On the bridge of Varen's Hope, Commander, Soral could not look away. Every screen lit with human strikes. He saw one leap from wreckage, crash through an enemy's hull and tear its heart out with bare hands. Another hurled a spear of burning plasma straight through 3 drones, each explosion lighting up the void like a dying star. Impossible, whispered an officer beside him. Those machines destroyed entire armadas, and the humans are destroying them, Soral said softly. His voice trembled, but not from fear of the enemy anymore. No, his fear had shifted toward Earth. The enemy swarmed harder, adapting fast. Waves of drones focused fire on the humans. Plasma beams lit the void. Explosions tore apart wreckage. The machines tried to bury the humans under sheer numbers, but the humans adapted faster. One activated a strange device on his arm. A shimmering field snapped to life, bending energy beams away. Another hurled a capsule that detonated into a storm of metallic shards, ripping through enemy armor like claws. They worked together with terrifying instinct like wolves circling prey. And then came the scream. The machines had no voices. They spoke in static, in signals. But now, for the first time, the enemy formation faltered. Their movement stuttered. Their swarm recoiled. The humans had taught them fear. On the flagship, silence held the bridge crew. Officers stared, unsure if they should cheer or shiver. They're winning, one finally whispered. Are they? Soral muttered. His eyes narrowed as he studied the black-armored figures. The humans weren't just winning. They were enjoying it. Their movements carried no hesitation, no restraint. Every strike was overkill. Every enemy was not just destroyed, but shattered. This wasn't war. This was release. The Council had begged for reinforcements, but Earth had not sent soldiers. Earth had sent something else. Something dangerous. Something it had hidden away until now. Soral's chest tightened as a thought crawled into his mind. If this is only what they released, what do they still keep locked away? On the battlefield, one of the human leaders raised his weapon and gave a signal. The black-armored figures regrouped with mechanical precision. Their helmets turned toward the largest of the enemy ships, a carrier drone, massive and bristling with weapons. The humans charged. Swarms tried to block their path, but the humans carved straight through. Explosions rolled across the void as their weapons ripped into the carrier's hull. The giant machine's shields flared, screaming under the assault. It fired every weapon at once, beams of pure light lancing through space. The humans didn't slow. They climbed the carrier's surface, tearing apart its cannons, breaking into its armor, and then in one unified strike they detonated charges deep inside. The carrier broke in half, split apart like a crushed insect. The battlefield fell silent for a breathless moment. The swarm wavered, its endless pattern disrupted. The impossible had happened. The enemy's strongest ship was gone. A human voice cut through comms, calm and merciless. Target neutralized. Next. The words made Soral's mandibles click in unease. It wasn't the enemy the humans were speaking to. It was everyone. Allies, council, anyone listening. A warning disguised as confidence. The swarm began to retreat, their cold logic screaming at them to withdraw. For the first time in history, they were losing, but even as the enemy fled, the humans didn't stop immediately. They pursued, cutting down stragglers, hunting the broken. Only when the battlefield was clear did they regroup, silent and cold, drifting back toward their transport like shadows returning to the dark. Sorrel finally exhaled, realizing his claws had dug grooves into the table. Around him, officers cheered in relief, but Sorrel did not cheer. He only stared at the black transport where the humans disappeared again. They begged for reinforcements, he whispered to himself. And Earth sent its most dangerous secret. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. For in his heart, Sorrel was no longer afraid of the enemy machines. He was afraid of what Earth would do next. The unleashing of fear. The battlefield was quiet now, but the silence was not peace. It was the kind of silence that came after a predator fed, when every smaller creature hid and prayed not to be noticed. The enemy machines had retreated into the dark, but they were not gone. They never left so easily. On Varan's hope, Commander, Sorrel knew it too. His mandibles twitched as he studied the scanners. They are waiting, he murmured. The swarm is never finished. His officers shifted nervously. Some wanted to celebrate. Some wanted to thank the humans. But no one spoke the words aloud, because deep down they all felt it. Unease. The human transport still hovered in the wreckage, silent, waiting. Inside, the black-armored figures moved like shadows behind glass. Their helmets reflected the glow of ruined ships, their weapons reloaded with quiet precision. And then the swarm came back. It was larger, denser. A wall of machines pouring out of the void, filling every scanner with red. The first attack had been brutal, but this was their answer. The machines were bringing their full strength. Gasps filled the bridge. We cannot hold against that, an officer said. Even with the humans. Sorrel said nothing. His eyes stayed on the human ship. As the swarm closed in, the transport gates opened again. This time the humans came out differently, not in small groups, not silently, all of them. Hundreds of black-armored figures launched into the void at once. Their movements were synchronized, almost inhuman, like one mind split into many bodies. They did not drift. They dove, each path chosen with terrifying precision. The enemy's first volley lit space with plasma fire. A storm of burning beams crossed the stars. Any normal army would have broken. But the humans didn't scatter. They moved straight into the storm, and the impossible happened. The beams bent. Some humans carried devices that shimmered with strange fields, twisting energy away like water against rock. Others simply endured, their armor blackened but unbroken. And those who fell did not scream. They only triggered detonations that took dozens of machines down with them. The swarm faltered. For the second time, the perfect machines hesitated. Then the humans began their assault. They didn't just destroy. They dismantled. One group landed on a drone ship, tearing open its hull and dragging out its power core with their bare hands, before detonating it in the middle of its formation. Another used sharp magnetic blades that tore through enemy ranks like paper, and worse than their weapons were their voices. The humans began broadcasting across all open channels. Not in threats, not in battle cries, in laughter. Cold, sharp human laughter echoing across the comms, filling every ship, every mind. Alliance officers froze at their consoles, chills running down their spines. The laughter wasn't joyous. It was terrifying. The sound of predators enjoying the hunt. Even the enemy swarm faltered under the sound. Their perfect formations broke just slightly, just enough. On the bridge, Sorrel gripped the table so tightly his claws cracked the surface. His officers stared in horror, not at the enemy, but at their own allies. This isn't war, one whispered. This is slaughter, and it was. The humans tore through the swarm with no restraint. Ships exploded one after another, ripped apart like toys. Where an enemy tried to retreat, the humans pursued. Where the swarm regrouped, the humans cut through them with precision, strikes. The black-armored figures moved with no fear of death, no pause, no mercy. The council had begged for reinforcements, What Earth had given them was something else, something unleashed. A human leader came onto the channel again, voice distorted behind the helmet. The enemy learns fear tonight, and so do you. The words hung in the air long after the comm. Cut. On Varen's hope, Soral's mandibles clicked in panic. His officers stared at him, waiting for reassurance, but he had none. He realized what the Council had done. In desperation, they had asked Earth to save them. And Earth had said, yes, but the price would come later. Because these humans were not soldiers. They were something darker, something Earth had hidden until the galaxy's desperation forced its hand. As the swarm shattered, as the humans hunted the last machines into nothing, Soral whispered to himself, "What have we released into our stars?" The final enemy ship detonated in silence. The battlefield was clear again, but in the hearts of every witness the fear remained, not of the enemy, of Earth. The aftermath, the battlefield was silent again. But this silence was not victory, it was fear. Wreckage drifted through the void, broken enemy machines, shattered alliance ships, and the burned remains of countless warriors. Yet through all, the destruction, one truth stood clear: the humans had won. On the bridge of Varen's hope, no one cheered. Officers stared at their screens with wide eyes, afraid to speak. They had seen something they could not unsee. Commander Soral's mandibles clicked in unease. His body wanted to believe this was salvation, but his mind whispered another truth. What he had witnessed was not salvation. It was warning. The human transport hovered in silence, its black hull scarred but unbroken. Slowly, one by one, the armored figures returned inside. They didn't limp. They didn't falter. Even the wounded moved like predators returning to their den, leaving behind only wreckage and whispers. A comm signal buzzed on the screen. Soral felt his chest tighten. He hesitated, then accepted. The same human face appeared. Pale skin, cold eyes. His expression did not celebrate. He looked almost bored. "The threat is neutralized," the human said simply. His tone was flat, like reading from a report. Soral swallowed hard. "You destroyed them. The swarm is gone. For now. The Council will thank you. We all will." The human interrupted. "Do not thank us. This is not a gift. It is a message." The words froze. Soral, "A message?" The human's gaze sharpened. "The galaxy believes humans are weak, that Earth is young, that we should be ignored. Today you learned otherwise. Today you learned what happens when we release what we keep hidden." His voice lowered, darker. "Do not ask for it again unless you are ready to live with the consequences." The transmission cut. Silence fell across the bridge. No one dared to breathe too loud. Outside, the human transport turned slowly. Its engines lit with a deep crimson glow, and then it was gone, vanishing into the black like a predator fading into the shadows. The Alliance fleet was left behind, broken and trembling, staring into the emptiness where Earth's secret had disappeared. One officer finally whispered, "They saved us," another answered, voice shaking. "No, they showed us." Soral stood frozen at the viewport, eyes locked on the stars. His chest felt heavy, as though the universe had shifted in a way no council meeting could ever undo. He realized the galaxy had not just witnessed Earth's strength. They had witnessed Earth's restraint, because if that was what humans were willing to release, what had they chosen to keep locked away? The thought spread like a cold infection. Across the fleets, across the council, across every survivor who had seen it. Rumors began instantly. Were these humans experiments? Beasts bred for war? Or was this what all humans became when the chains of civilization were broken? No one knew. But one truth echoed through the galaxy in whispers. They begged for reinforcements. Earth sent its most dangerous secret. And in that secret, every empire saw its future. The enemy machines had been terrifying, yes, but now the Council had to face a different question. What happens the day Earth decides the galaxy itself is the enemy? The council chamber, weeks later, was silent when the question was finally asked aloud. The councilors looked at each other, unease in every gaze. Some wanted to forbid humans from ever being called again. Others wanted them bound by treaties, controlled, contained. But deep down they all knew the truth. You cannot control predators once they taste blood. Far away on Earth, the transport returned to its hidden base. The armored humans stepped off, silent as shadows, vanishing into the mountains where no outsider would ever find them. Inside a dark command room, a human general stood before his officers. His voice was steady, calm, and cold. "They've seen enough," he said. "Let them wonder. Let them fear. The galaxy now knows. When Earth answers, it does not answer with mercy." No applause followed, no cheers. The humans simply dispersed, waiting for the next time the council called, waiting for the next war. And in the cold night sky above Earth, the stars themselves seemed to shiver.